Hello. So, a crazy fact just resonated with me. The specific LSD these people do comes from a cactus, and it causes a strong sense of self, which is something the subconscious doesn't have. This is why I would argue envy is their core emotion. Uh, they're probably jealous of anybody with a complete whole identity. You probably don't need to be rich, you probably don't need to be poor, you probably don't need to be anything outside of having a core whole identity. Remember Blondie and this whole church's gimmick is they steal greatness and they give it to crackers, and these crackers are malignant narcissists and they go, I deserve it because I'm entitled to it. And no, you don't get to self-immiserate yourself through your religion, do a bunch of horrible shit to yourself for no reason, and then go, I'm entitled to things because I beat myself up. Okay? To give you an idea, an example of this behavior would be like your friend punching themselves repeatedly in the face and then telling everybody they're like a heavyweight boxer. That's not a joke. That is how these people think. They're mentally bankrupt. They don't think, they're imbeciles. But the strong sense of self makes sense through the use of the LSD, because this LSD puts you into a suggestive state and all this other nonsense. But if you think about this in a nutshell, so you switch to conscious and unconscious minds. Now, the unconscious mind is not designed to lead. That's why these people are impulsive and everything is your fault, because they're alien brain. They used to call psychologists alienists because they believed peoples were alienated from themselves, and that's why they acted out. They believed that on a psychological level they themselves had no idea who they were, which is funny because that can happen with heavy metal poisoning at young ages, which the alienness happened between the Industrial Revolution, and in the Industrial Revolution there was a lot of exposure to noxious chemicals and heavy metals. So it makes sense that they believed people were alienated from themselves and they themselves did not know who they were. This also makes sense for the malignant narcissist because emotionally stunted is a child. Okay, a child does not know who they are. They are just reacting to the environment around them. Boundary pushing is another thing. They go as far as they can until you punch them in the mouth. This is another thing associated with being a small child. It's a thing with Friedrich Nietzsche. He talks about having chaos inside you to create a dancing star. These people's primal urges clash with their moral values. There is no super ego, there is no ego, there is only a chaos that exists in their mind, and they themselves can't tell you what is right and wrong truthfully. If you ask them what's good, punching a baby or stepping on a baby, they couldn't tell you what's good between those two things because they don't know. This kind of baboon logic is fascinating. It's even more interesting that this LSD and this LSD specifically grows in Utah. It comes from a fucking cactus. And it is the same shit they mix. Look, the mixture, I believe, for the LSD now, if I had to guess, it's tetraled, it's the cactus LSD, and GABA. Because the body reacts violently to tetraled, and GABA counteracts that. That was explained to me by Officer Fred. So, it makes sense that these people would aggressively apply to me because I've always just been myself. One of the things I've been trying to do this shit. Florida has a portal that's supposed to help you file your shit, and they don't have tort claims on there. And then I tried to file for lost wages, and they don't have lost wages, but you can't file for lost wages because that was like 4 or 5 years ago. So I can't do that either. So the only thing I'm left with is filing a tort claim, and I have no idea how to do that. I've been searching the internet, and everything says talk to attorney. I can't talk to attorney. I'm under a contract. If there is an attorney with really big balls and is a real man, you should probably contact me, because me and you could probably save some 300,000 people together. If you're not a pussy, that is. Worthy a note, nihilism. I'm trying to get back to me, but the issue is I have borderline personality disorder as a motherfucker because you just freak out and get pissed off for no reason. That coupled with PTSD and psychosis are not a really good fucking mix at all. Because I have psychotic borderline personality rages where I just flip the fuck out and then I come back to normal and then anger, rage. I've always had hatred as a core fucking emotional trait, but I literally just seem to fucking flip out at random. If Blondie did hypnotize me to say shit about Mary Bo Berry so that I wouldn't end up with Mary Bo Berry, I guess that's good for her because borderline personality people abuse their spouses. That is a fact. So I probably wouldn't wish that on her. It's unfortunate that they turned me into this thing. But we're here now. There ain't shit I can do about it. And, part of being a stoic is focusing on what you can control, what you can't control. I can't control these baby raping pedophiles who human traffic. I can't control that Blondie wants to help all of them, even though he himself doesn't know right from wrong. So in his brain, he's the good guy when he's doing all the wrong things. Okay. The way these people gauge good and bad is what you do to me. That's how they view good and bad. If you do something and it hurts their feelings, you evil. Think if you have a kid that's just eating candy nonstop, and you're like, oh, he's going to get diabetes, I better take the candy from him. These people would kill you because you took candy from them and that makes them feel bad. Okay? That makes you evil because emotion is king, and that is the thing with the subconscious mind. Emotion is number one, everything else is subjective. And that is why Blondie will tell you it's subjective. Even good is subjective. I remember when the FBI contacted me, there was one of the guys, he's just a total fucking cock. And he was like, we punish people for doing good. You gotta hurt them. You gotta hurt them so they learn. You can't be good because if good people get out there, they'll ruin the entire system. Oh, you just gotta brutalize them until they turn into a piece of shit. And I guess that's the end goal with me, is to make me like them. And I guess it's a system that bats 100% because if you hurt anybody enough, they turn into a bad person. There is a lie that people with mental illness and shit are assaulted and shit. No, you have to have mental illness to act out. You have to have mental illness to go to prison. There's got to be something wrong to begin with that makes you act out in a fucked up state. Okay, the truth is everybody just needs some help. Outside of these people at the church because they choose it for themselves. It is their religion that is dangerous. Okay, and they believe it. That is what makes them dangerous. Is they're like, this is a good idea. Blondie, even if he's like, oh, the human trafficking and all that stuff is bad. Now, he doesn't believe that. That's all lies. He wants to save the church. And here's the other side of that. Let's say he does believe the human trafficking and stuff is bad. Okay? But he believes his psychology is superior. What does that tell you? How do you get his psychology? You get it through poisoning with heavy metals, rape, removing him from from his parents, and fucking generally treating him like shit. Okay? Until he turns into this thing. And it is a thing. It's not a person of any kind. It is a primordial person with no identity. And that is why the LSD that gives him an identity is so important to him. Because it's missing. It's a missing piece of a puzzle or a Rubik's Cube or whatever. It is the thing with malignant narcissists. They try to have other people complete them. They try to file and the laziness of the subconscious because it doesn't have the conscious mind to regulate it. It wants to be regulated, but it also wants to be in control. But it wants to be regulated, but it wants to be in control. This is a chaotic relationship. You cannot be regulated and in control. Okay, that would require self-discipline, and that is something none of these people have. That is why they dose on LSD to keep them going in every situation. The secret to life is microdosing on LSD, apparently. If you want to be a superior being, just do mountains of LSD. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this rant. I hope it was a bit more coherent. Recently, kind of started feeling back to my old self, and instead of doing this rigid court shit that makes no sense at all, I think I need to find a way to Bobby my way through it. Yeah. I need to come to terms that I am going to die. But and I can die here or I can die in prison. It doesn't matter anymore. Those are my prospects for life. Like I said, and I don't believe Blondie actually knows how destructive he is as a human being. How disgusting he is as a human being. And here's the thing, when you say that to him, it's emotion. You said words that hurt my feelings. He's not going to sit down and go, is he right? And I guarantee you he'll never admit it, because it means admitting something's wrong with him. And there's tons wrong with him, along with Stu and every other malignant narcissist at this church. I would not, once again, stopping the church is one thing, but letting people like Stu and Gannon out just run free is a completely another pile of eggs. It is even Blondie is a dangerous fucking person, because his conscious and unconscious minds are swapped. Your conscious mind has a super ego. It tells you not to murder people. In Blondie's mind, it's chaotic. He can kill somebody, but then he's a good person. But he just murdered somebody, but then he's a good person. It doesn't make any sense, because he has no values, he has no morals. He has an arbitrary code given to him by the church, and he mindlessly follows that code, and it is mindless, and he wants everybody to be mindless, because the subconscious mind can't do complex thought, because it's not designed for that. It is, once again, the equivalent to switching your transmission in your engine. The transmission does not know what to do.